All praise is due to Allah and the person of Master Muhammad. My name is Brother Minister YaSin Allah, and I'm here again to deliver the preachings and teachings of the Honorable Mr. Muhammad, that the black man is God, the white man is the devil, and that we're living in the judgment or the change of worlds, that the old wicked world of the white man is going out, and the new world of freedom, justice, and equality of the black man is coming in. Our subject today is July 4th, 1930. And before we get into our subject matter, I'd like to open up in prayer. All praise is due to Allah and the person of Master Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come, to restore us who were lost from our own, the kingdom of Islam, and to destroy those who have destroyed us. Thou art our God, O Allah, we are thy people. All praise is due to Allah. Again, my name is Brother Minister YaSin Allah, and I'm here today to deliver the preachings and teachings of the Honorable Muhammad. And our subject matter today is July 4th, Independence Day. And of course, we all know that July 4th, Independence Day, is the day that the United States of America, the white people, celebrate their independence, their break from King George III of England, which happened in 1776. But in the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Muhammad, he taught us that Allah in the person of Master Muhammad, that's the God that the Honorable Mr. Muhammad gave us, said that Allah chose July 4th, 1930 as a symbolic day of his coming to signify the black man and black woman's independence from white America. Praise be to Allah. Of course, we know that Master Muhammad was first came to America in 1910, and that he was in and out of America for 20 years. But he didn't make himself known until 1930 in Detroit, Michigan. And Mr. Muhammad met him in 1931. But he chose July 4th to signify the end or the fall of white America and the independence of the black man and black woman of America from white America, their ex-slave masters. Praise be to Allah. Master Farad Muhammad, of course, Allah in person, is the fulfillment of the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. Also, we find him in the Bible under the name of the Son of Man and the Savior and the Redeemer. That both the Bible and the Quran teach about this particular person, this special man to come and restore God's rule, God's reign on the planet Earth. And all the scholars, the religious people of the world are all looking and waiting for waiting for Allah or God to come, the Messiah, the Son of Man, the Mahdi, to save them. But we, the black people in America, are the blessed ones who are the recipients of God. And God, Allah, comes to save the black man and black woman of America. And we should always be thankful, and we should always dwell and contemplate and think about this, because it's a very important point of who we are and our place in the world and the place of everyone else in the world. Alhamdulillah. So when we say Son of Man, we, according to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, that's one of the the easiest and most clearest way to teach or understand that God is a man. He's the son of a man, which again we find the term or phrase Son of Man in the Bible in several places. Savior means, of course, one who saves or preserves, and Messiah is the anointed one, and he's also found under the name the Christ, which means the crusher of the wicked. Alhamdulillah. And Mahdi is the guide to the kingdom of righteousness, and the root of Mahdi is Hadi, the guide, the one who leads or shows how to get to a particular place. And in this case, we're talking about his teachings. Master Farad Muhammad's teachings lead us or guide us to heaven on earth, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of righteousness. Alhamdulillah. Now again, Master Farad Muhammad chose July 4th as his symbolic coming to show the independence of the black man and black woman from white America after receiving Islam, his teachings. Once we receive the teachings of Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad's supreme wisdom, we are no longer dependent on white America. We are no longer the slaves or the slaves of white America. That now we have a supreme wisdom, a superior wisdom, which takes us above the teachings of white America, basically above Christianity and the false idea of patriotism that somehow that the black man is really included in the American ideal or the American experiment. And we should all know, of course, we learned in grammar school and history that America began as one of the colonies of Great Britain in the 18th century, and during that time, Great Britain was the world power, and she had colonies all over the planet. As they used to say, that the sun never set on the British Empire. Her colonies were spread out across the planet Earth, and North America was one of Great Britain's colonies, and in particular, there were 13 colonies. And as we were taught, the colonists, the founding fathers, were dissatisfied with how they were being treated by the King of England at that time, King George III, and they decided to rebel and state that they were independent from England and started their own country, and that in fact each of the 13 colonies was really a separate or sovereign state unto itself. Alhamdulillah. And the great event in American history is that on July 4th, 1776, the founding fathers, or the representatives of the 13 colonies, had finished writing a document called the Declaration of Independence, and they signed it on that day, July 4th, 1776, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And some of the, as we're taught, some of the founding fathers who signed that document were Benjamin Franklin and John Hancock and several others. I think it was approximately over 50, 52, maybe 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. And you can get these facts, you know, readily. There's nothing secret or hidden about that. Alhamdulillah. And one of the statements that we are all taught from the Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And of course, too, we should also know that the Declaration of Independence, its writing is always attributed to Thomas Jefferson, another of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States. And from my understanding, he didn't write the entire document himself. It was really a committee, if you will, or a few people who actually worked on it with him. But in any event, it was finished in July 4th, 1776, where all the different colonists, American colonists, subjects of Great Britain, all agreed on its contents, and they signed it. And again, one of the great, or actually infamous provisions of the Declaration of Independence is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And with regard to the black man and black woman of America, is we understand that we were not included in that statement. We were not included in the Declaration of Independence because the black man and black woman were the slaves of the colonists, the founding fathers of which came to be the United States of America. We were slaves. Our forefathers and foremothers were slaves to the people who said that all men are created equal. Hence, it's quite obvious that they weren't referring to the black man and black woman of America. They were referring to themselves. And just again to go over a little American history, of course, we know that the black man and black woman didn't become a recognized citizen of the United States until 1868, when after the Civil War and the ratification of the 14th Amendment of the United States of America. So again, the Declaration of Independence had nothing to do with the black man and black woman of America. So we should really be very cautious and skeptical about celebrating America's independence, because it had nothing to do with the black man and black woman of America. In fact, it was really a document that reinforced the idea that the black man and black woman of America were to be slaves to white America. Alhamdulillah. Now, again, this is a very important subject, July 4th, 1930. Excuse me, July 4th, Independence Day, the day that Master Farad Muhammad decided to take as a symbolic day of his coming, that the black man and black woman should be, that this is our independence from white America. And that yet, with all the trials and tribulations, with all the heartache, with all the murder, the lies, the robbery, the rapes, the lynchings, the black man and black woman of America are still in love with white America. And of course, we understand that the white man made black people love them. You know, this is one of the unspoken tragedies of slavery in America, that in addition to everything else that the white man did to the black man, he made black people love him. And to this very day, our people are totally, madly in love with the white man. And anything and everything that they do, the black man is basically behind it and supports them. They feel as though they are Americans and that they should be with America on everything that America does. And again, this is one of the great tragedies of servitude slavery of the black man and black woman of America. And just to go back for a minute, just in terms of the United States Constitution, the United States Constitution was formulated, written after the Declaration of Independence. And of course, we know in that document, the black man and black woman of America were counted as 3/5 of a human being. Again, further evidence, convincing evidence that the black man and black woman originally experimented this American dream, that it was for white men, white people, rich white people, and that they became rich and richer because of the free labor and genius of black people. Alhamdulillah. Now, Mr. Muhammad, the most honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, he taught us so much. And in preparing for this talk, I was just reflecting on how much he taught us. And what coincides with talking about July 4th, Independence Day, is to speak about the American flag and some things that he taught us about the American flag. And he broke down the symbolism. Of course, we know that in Islam, our flag represents or shows the sun, moon, and stars. That these things symbolize the power of creation of the black man, of God, Allah, and that how the sun was brought into existence, the star was brought into existence, the moon was brought into existence, all by the black man, and that these universal symbols symbolize or are emblematic of the power of God and the black man. And that he also explained the American flag, how the American flag with the red stripes, and I just should back up a minute, he taught us that red in our flag represents the sun, represents truth. So the white man in his science uses the red stripe. The white stripes in the American flag, according to Mr. Muhammad, and you can find this in the Theology of Time, represent white people. And curiously, Mr. Muhammad said, or maybe not curiously, but just as the way things are, who the white man is, the blue represents untruth. And Mr. Muhammad taught much on this. He said that the color blue is a deceptive color, and that you never could really find blue in the universal order of things. He said if we look up at the sky and see a blue sky, yet if we travel into the upper atmosphere, there's no blue to be found. And it's the same thing with water. Is we see a blue ocean, but when we get actually into the water, there's no blue there. So it's a deceptive color. It's a color that represents falsehood. So America incorporated blue into her flag. Now, Mr. Muhammad also said that a black man designed the American flag, which is very interesting. Of course, we are taught that Betsy Ross was the one who made the American flag. And that may be so, but Mr. Muhammad specifically said that it was a black man in his science that came up with the idea, created or made the American flag, came up with the design of the American flag. So these are all very interesting things. And again, you know, for those of us that study, and we should all study, and it shouldn't be for those of us that study. We should all study. The black man and black woman should study. They should know ourselves as and be ourselves. And you can't know yourself and be yourself unless you study. Now, another interesting thing, and that we should all bear witness to this, we should all take note of this because it's very important, is that while white America on Independence Day and practically every other day, they put forth the American flag, and that this is the greatest flag there is, and that this is the greatest country, it's a Christian country. But we should also understand that many of the founding fathers, some of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, number one, were not Christians, and more importantly, some of them were actually Masons. Now, when we start talking about Masons and Freemasonry, you know, we're getting ready to open up a big subject, and but it's an important subject, and this all coincides with Independence Day, that the men who conspired against the King of England were Masons, and that the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution are Masonically inspired, were inspired by Masonic ideas. And let me rephrase that. The Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution, both of those documents, the founding documents of the United States of America, were highly influenced by Masonic ideas. Now, when we say Masonic or Freemasonry, we're actually talking about a form of Islam that was given to the white race. As the lesson says, so we gave them Freemasonry so they can clean themselves up. And it's a lower form of Islam that's especially made for the white man, and after they study from 35 to 50 years, then they can start becoming introduced and start learning Islam. Praise be to Allah. And of course, again, I know there's much to be said about Freemasonry. It's the work of the devil, and of course Masonry has been corrupted from its original form, but the essence of it is just, when we say Freemasonry, we should understand in its truest form is just a special form of Islam and signs and symbols that's given to the white race so they can practice morality, and builds them up, teaches them to get them ready to practice Islam. Alhamdulillah. Now, we should all know that in secret, Freemasons, they don't wear the American flag in the lodge. They wear their flag, their emblems are the same emblems that we use, the sun, moon, and stars. And, you know, this is very interesting. You know, we see Masonic fezzes and, you know, different Masonic emblems, and we see our emblems. So anyone who has any questions about the root or the true meaning of Islam, don't dismiss the obvious. Don't dismiss the obvious, because here people who are wearing a fez is a Muslim hat, if you will, with the tassel. The moon and the star on the fez, again, come from us. These are our symbols, signifying the power of the black man in creating the universe. Alhamdulillah. Now, it's commonly known that George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, they were all, just to put in a slang term, big-time Masons in their day and time. George Washington was a Grand Master. Benjamin Franklin, I believe, was a Grand Master. And we'll say some more about him later. Now, what is ironic about Freemasonry is that Freemasonry has 3 main degrees, and they're known as Blue Lodge. And the first degree is called Entered Apprentice, and the second degree is called Fellow Craft, and the third degree is Master Mason. Of course, they have other degrees after that going up to 32 degrees. But the 3 essential degrees in Freemasonry are what they call Blue Lodge. Again, Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft, and Master Mason. And once they get to the rituals of the Master Mason, they are taught about an individual by the name of Hiram Abiff, and the poor widow's son. And this is the same Hiram that we find basically in the 17th chapter of the first book of Kings in the Bible. And in the Masonic rituals, Hiram Abiff is a master builder, and he is assaulted and killed by what they call in Masonic jargon, if you will, or language, 3 ruffians, Jubilah, Jubilo, and Jubilon. And these were devils who were enslaved to work on the building of Solomon's temple. And there's much history here, and perhaps we'll do another video and go more into detail about some of these things. But just in terms of the devils being enslaved to work on Solomon's temple, if you look in the Holy Quran, I think in around chapter 37 to 38, you can see, you can find a couple verses on that, alhamdulillah. Anyway, Hiram Abiff, the master builder, was assaulted by 3 ruffians during the construction of building Solomon's temple. And he was assaulted by them, and one of them hit him on the arm, and one of them hit him in the neck, and the third one hit him in the head and killed him. And of course, they were trying to extort or get some secret information from Hiram Abiff. And after they killed him, they were in a panic, and as they say in the Masonic rituals, they buried him in a shallow grave. And because Hiram was dead, there was no work being done on Solomon's temple. And when he came to inspect the work site, he saw no work being done, and he asked where was where was Hiram Abiff? And he wasn't getting right answers. So eventually he found out that Hiram Abiff had been killed, and who were the perpetrators. So once the body was found, then we go into another resurrection motif, if you will, and Solomon raises Hiram from the dead. And of course, all of this is symbolic. And before Solomon raised Hiram Abiff, his deputies tried to raise him, but they were unable because they didn't have the power or the knowledge of how to raise the dead. And again, all this is symbolic. Now, once Hiram is raised, then he's restored to life. So the master, in order to become a master mason, the candidates for to become a mason have to go through this ritual, and they become symbolically Hiram Abiff, raised from a dead level to a living perpendicular or upright man. and a perpendicular is a 90-degree angle, which is an upright. Alhamdulillah. So, if you were to study Freemasonry or get some books on Freemasonry, one of the perhaps biggest areas of study in Freemasonry is the interpretation of who is Hiram Abiff. And again, there's numerous books on interpreting who is Hiram Abiff and what does it really mean. Now, the interesting thing about all of this with regard to Hiram Abiff is that the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad is the only one, the high scientist, who said that Hiram Abiff actually represents the black man here in the wilderness of North America. Praise be to Allah. That he was the one who was assaulted by the three ruffians, the white race, particularly the English and the French, and that he was actually killed or made mentally dead by white America. And there's a couple articles written by the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad on this, and when we were younger, first coming into Islam, I mean, these things here, you know, they just basically, you know, blew our mind. And, you know, they inspired us, you know, to dig deeper and to study more. And I hope it does the same for you. But Hiram Abiff, it represents the black man in America. So the irony is that the founding fathers of America, racists, hardcore racists, slave owners, who were Masons, who held the black man here in the wilderness of North America in servitude slavery, were actually partakers and followers of something, Freemasonry, that actually represented the robbing the black man of knowledge of self and his eventual resurrection by Allah God. And the ritual, Solomon, of course, would represent Allah God. And if we dig deeper into the 17th chapter of the first book of Kings in the Bible, we see that it was Elijah who raised the widow's son. So, Independence Day. Is it any wonder why Master Hiram Muhammad decided to make July 4th, 1930, our Independence Day? Once we start learning this knowledge, we can readily see how important it is to study and understand the root or the beginnings of the United States of America and the type of men who were its leaders and, again, founding fathers, who designed the whole thing. Alhamdulillah. And before I close, also, when we talk about Freemasonry, one curious thing about Freemasonry, according to the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, is that the Masons and Shriners in particular are not allowed to wear their fezzes in public except one day a year, and that day is July 4th. On Independence Day, according to the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, the white man, particularly the Shriners, can wear their fezzes in public. And if you are located anywhere around a Masonic lodge, they usually have a big celebration, a public celebration on July 4th. So I think I covered just about everything I wanted to cover in this particular talk, and I don't want to make it too long. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. And because we're dealing with modern technology, I would ask you to like us on YouTube or Facebook if you see this, and also subscribe to our channel, the Elijah Muhammad Explained channel. And I named it that because, and I'm doing these videos because the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad need to be explained without, and keeping the explanations as close as to the way the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad taught us and the way he intended his teachings to be taught, which is very, very important. And we're going to do a video soon on don't change the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, because we have to remember that the white race is charged with tampering with their scriptures, and because of that they suffered several chastisements and still suffers chastisements because of tampering with their scriptures. And we don't want to be or fulfill that history as well, tampering or altering or diluting the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. Alhamdulillah. So, without any further ado or delay, I'm going to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to this video. I want to wish everyone a happy July 4th Independence Day for the black man and black woman of America. And that, as Mr. Muhammad said, that when the black man was in servitude, slavery, the only thing that he got or could look forward to on a holiday such as July 4th was a day off from work. And that was it, because there was no independence in America's Independence Day, July 4th, 1776. And, I said I was going to comment on Benjamin Franklin. Mr. Muhammad didn't teach this, but there are books that say that after America achieved its independence from Great Britain after the Revolutionary War, that Benjamin Franklin went to France and actually helped them in their Revolutionary War against their king. So that's I think you can find that in Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, who was a Mason himself. So that's just an interesting little tidbit. And again, I urge everyone to dig deep into the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad and understand his teachings and know his teachings and be able to speak about them, or be able to expound on them, be conversant in the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, so we can beat down falsehood. Because remember, we represent truth. The red in our flag, the sun, represents truth, and we should know truth, practice truth, and be able to speak about truth. So again, I want to thank you, and I want to say Assalamu alaikum, and I'm going to close out as I open. All praise is due to Allah and the person of Master Farah Muhammad. We thank Allah and the person of Master Farah Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore us who were lost from our own, the kingdom of Islam, and to destroy those who have destroyed us. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, peace.